Guys, it's been a week since last week, and a lot has happened. Like, for example, 7 days have passed. We're all a bit older. First, I wanted to see what I looked like with a shaved face, and thank God I stopped at the mustache. But now I look like a Portuguese uncle. Also, HBO is coming for me. Last week's video got flagged for copyright infringement straight away, so I had to take it down, and I had to re-edit it and re-upload it, and that kind of killed the momentum of the video, but we shall persevere. The people deserve to know, the people deserve to see. So I'm gonna be getting creative with the editing today. So that's that on that. Just to be clear, it's all under fair use. There should not be any copyright infringement, but you know what? Reaction channels are the real heroes out there. I have no idea how they do it, but kudos for you guys. So, you'll remember last week's episode ended on a cliffhanger. Is Rue gonna die or not? Cassie signed 2 contracts and she also got the role in LA Knights. Because life is easy when you look like this. Nate got his finger cut off. Maddie went into business with human sex trafficking drug lord Alamo. And Jules and Lexi continue to be the pawns in advancing everybody's storyline except their own. Like proverbial stand-ins for whatever Sam needed from the story. We want to talk about how misunderstood of an artist Sam is and how the nudity and violence in his shows aren't gratuitous and there's an ulterior motive for it, an artistic reason. Well, let's have Jules draw a bunch of women with penises for a network cable show, only for her art to be rejected and for her dreams to be crushed. The realization that her art is not for the mainstream. Sam, is there something you want to tell us? Speaking of lobotomized characters, this season truly is the Cassie show. Perhaps it was the fact that Zendaya was pretty much done with the show after season 2, maybe even season 1, but season 3 feels like a showcase of Sydney Sweeney's talents. She's currently the 2nd highest paid star of the show, which is understandable given the routine humiliation she has to go through in order to film her scenes. But her character keeps on winning, and she keeps getting the best scenes for her to act out. She's given more to play with as a character in terms of drama and comedy that most of the other characters aren't given. Almost like they're trying to prep the show to continue beyond season 3 without Zendaya, focusing more on Cassie as the main character. Listen, if it ends up happening, you heard it here first. Nobody wants it, but okay. And with only 2 episodes left in the series, question mark, I'm trying to figure out where all of these character arcs are going and how Sam is gonna tie them all up satisfactorily to a satisfactory standard. And I have no idea. I'm lost. And I feel like a lot of people are conceptualizing this season and this show to mean a lot more than Sam intended in the first place. A lot of mental gymnastics from diehard fans who are determined to prove that this show is really good. And you know what? It is technically beautiful. So get yourself a snack, sit down, relax, get a drink, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into episode 6 of Euphoria season 3. And hopefully HBO can stay out of my ass this week. Thank you. The coldest female Alamo ever knew was his mama. That's the first sentence in the episode, and today's intro is about Alamo. First, I hate when people refer to women as females. Also, I get that we give characters in Euphoria some backstory to help us understand how they got to where they are and what shaped them into being who they are, but Alamo? Really? Why do we now have to go back to his childhood? I don't know. But like, if you're gonna give us a backstory, at least make it good or make it connective enough that it feels meaningful for the story. Sam just hates women. So as a young kid, Alamo lived with his mom. His father was not in the picture. And his mom introduces him to a good man called Preston. And Preston has very deep, prominent scars all over his face, which at first scare Alamo. But then turns out Preston is actually really cool and they start getting along. He may have been ugly on the outside, but on the inside, he was a good man. And Alamo thanked God for bringing Preston into his life because now he had a father figure that he could actually look up to. He used to work at a chemical factory until a vat blew up in his face, and ever since he's been waiting for a settlement from the company, and it's been a year. And when the settlement finally came through, Preston was a rich man, and by proxy, so was Alamo's mom. Preston started buying her gifts every day and furnished the entire house to look like the Silver Slipper. So now we know where Alamo got his inspiration from to do the interior decor of his house of horrors. And that was his mom's living room, okay? That year, Alamo had the best summer of his life, and Preston even asked for his blessing to marry his mom. And then they went home, only to realize that someone broke into their home and stole everything they had. Emptied the house completely. Alamo's mom decides to leave Preston then and there, and she took Alamo out of town into the house of another man, because as it turns out, it was all a con. Alamo's mom just seduced Preston long enough to then steal everything from him. And that night, Alamo promised to himself that for as long as he lived, never again would a bitch outsmart him. which feels like a bit of a stretch. She wasn't even trying to outsmart you. She was trying to outsmart Preston, and she did successfully. It feels like the prelude to his actual backstory. Like, this is giving us a little bit of information, and now we're going to see what he did later in life that got him to where he is now. But instead, no, that's just all we see. It's like Sam is so close to getting there. Like, he's got the foundation and the bones for a good story, but then he just makes all the wrong decisions at every step of the way. And somehow we end up here. All we learn from this is that Sam hates women. Also, water is wet. But back to the cliffhanger of last week's episode. I was half right. Alamo does not kill Rue, but I thought he wasn't going to kill her because he's now in business with Maddie, but it turns out Rue just pled for her life very successfully. She convinces Alamo that she can recover everything that was stolen from him, and her plan is quite simple. Rue calls Faye and asks her to send a picture of the key to Wayne's vault, where all of the stuff is stashed, next to a quarter for scale. Once they have the picture, Alamo's team will be able to 3D print a key that they will then use to break into the vault and steal everything back. Sounds simple, right? Well, Faye has been sampling the drugs that they stole from Alamo, and she's not been getting high, she's just been getting diarrhea. Because if you'll remember, she's now been sampling everything that the DEA swapped out, so it's not drugs, it's laxatives and baby powder. If anything, Laurie's crew robbing Alamo's bar was the best thing that could have happened to Rue, inadvertently extending Rue's lifespan. Imagine if Alamo had found out the drugs were fake. He'd probably got another rant about how being called a pig is like the worst thing that could ever happen to any human being ever. The problem with asking Faye for her help is that she has fallen in love with Wayne. Wayne is one of the white supremacists part of Laurie's crew. He's the one who's got the key to the vault. He's also a Nazi. He was the one giving Faye back shots in front of that massive, gigantic Nazi flag. They're so in love that he decides to speak to Laurie so that Faye can stop being a drug mule. Like, the most romantic thing ever. Because, and I quote, "Only thing you ought to be carrying in that belly is some fair-skinned babies." A white supremacist using descriptive neutral language when describing his racial aspirations. Wow. Because right after this declaration of love, Wayne gives Faye a tattoo and she's like, "Oh, is it a butterfly?" And he says, "Sexier." And it's literally a swastika on her lower back. And these guys are really in love. Like, after getting Faye to stop being a drug mule, Wayne got really mad at her for still doing coke. Like, he gets there and he's like, "Whoa, why are you doing coke when I'm trying to stick a baby in you?" And she's like, "This is not coke," because it's not, it's laxatives. But he's like, "I don't care. I see what I see." And I just find it so funny that the white supremacist is angry that his girlfriend, who used to be a drug mule for his family, dares to snort coke. Because he's trying to have kids, and now all of a sudden, healthy babies are a concern. If healthy babies were a concern, why are Wayne's parents also siblings? That's what I want to know. He says, and I quote, "Last thing I need is you to be giving birth to some creepy crawly." That's poetry. So at first, Faye didn't want to help Rue because now she's in love with Wayne, but Rue promises that she can keep some of the money and then guilts her into helping because Fez is currently in prison because of Faye's ex. So like, she guilt trips her. And that works. Faye sends Rue the picture, which comes laced with a life extension for Rue. Alamo accepts having a meeting with Laurie and Laurie's crew, so they go to the Silver Slipper. Rue is in the room with her phone so the DEA agents can eavesdrop on the conversation. And though he's been building up this rivalry all season, the meeting just lacked so much tension. Like, I was expecting more from both Laurie and Alamo, and yet somehow Laurie is still a lot more intimidating than Alamo. But like, neither of them is like making me shiver in my boots whatsoever. Laurie has a proposition, more like a demand. She wants to use Alamo's Medical Services Company to smuggle fentanyl into the country. Alamo's Medical Services Company, I hear you ask? Well, yeah. He takes girls down to Mexicali to get surgeries and dental, that kind of stuff. And apparently he's got ambulances and can even get the medical passes, which are all great ways to go through the border patrol check thing unsuspectingly without being checked. So Laurie wants Alamo to be her drug mule. If he does it, she'll return everything that they stole. If he doesn't, they will mail everything they stole to the FBI. And the bonus is that according to the news, they're closing the border. So all he has to do is one trip, 80 kilos of fentanyl. That's it, one and done. The DEA agents are elated hearing this because it's great news. It means that they can get all of them in one go. And Alamo and Laurie spit and shake on it. Gross. And I was watching this and thinking, Lori is the one who deserves some backstory at the beginning of the episode, because we've known her for 2 seasons now. She's been a huge part of Rue's life, a dominating force in how fucked up everything becomes. And yet we still don't know anything about her. Like, I want to know why she doesn't emote ever. I want to know what gets her to be so fucking calm all the time. I want to be on whatever she is. And Rue then meets the agents at night like she does a couple times. And I just want to know how she can get all this freedom to travel at night, to talk to the agents, and no one is onto her. Like, Alamo hasn't sent someone to genuinely, like, physically follow her at night. It just feels lazy. No, she meets the agents and they tell her that she did good and now all she has to do is wait. They're going to try and arrest everyone for life, and the DA will look at Rue favorably because of all of her help. And Rue tries to get Maddie to not work with Alamo, but Maddie is too stubborn for her own good and says that she doesn't fear Alamo because she doesn't. She sees in him a business opportunity to expand her own business. All she wants is to milk these girls for all they're worth. They do a photo shoot at the bar. I can't show any of it, but then Maddie asks Alamo to give the girls some time off so Maddie can take them out and introduce them to people, network, build their profiles. And Alamo straight away says, that wasn't part of the deal. Maddie says the girls work 6 days a week. They need some time off. And Alamo says, no, that's my money. That wasn't part of our agreement. If that was part of our agreement, we would not have an agreement. Then he turns to Bishop and says, do I look like a wet pussy? Why is everyone trying to fuck me? That conversation goes nowhere, by the way. Bishop just says, I don't think Maddie's trying to fuck you over, but that's it. And I think Maddie's going to start realizing that going into business with Alamo doesn't necessarily mean having a business partner. It means having a boss. A boss that's not afraid to kill you. No less. And it's now time for the dedicated 3 minutes a week where Rue and Jules interact in Jules' boyfriend's apartment. Jules is painting, and you're never going to believe this. It's another penis. Yay. Or as I would say in Portuguese, outra pila, caralho. Esta mulher só quer piroca naquela tela. So Rue is having another one of her revelatory moments, and although it feels very been there, done that, I guess Euphoria is all about the highs and lows of Rue's life as an addict who's been struggling for so long. But she's basically reached the conclusion that she doesn't have any responsibilities with anyone other than herself, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why she has so much anxiety and depression. And her conclusion is that she wants kids. She wants to get married. She wants a family, because that way she will worry about other people, right? It'll be different. It'll be better. It'll give her a higher purpose, which feels like dropped in here out of nowhere. Like we're speedrunning some much needed character development and story to get here, but okay. Rue flat out tells Jules that she wants to be with her. And Jules says that what she wants is a fantasy and that the last time that they were together was a big mistake. A big fucking mistake that almost cost her her relationship with the chaser surgeon who likes to wrap her in plastic film. That guy, yeah. She went from, if you want me, make me yours, to my sugar daddy's gonna be angry real fast. And Rue tells Jules that her boyfriend is treating her like a toy that he locks up in a little room. Don't go anywhere, don't see anyone, just stay here and paint and wait until I come back to you. So Jules slaps Rue and kicks her out. Jules seems to be stuck in life. She has no aspirations, she has no job, she has no friends, she has no real social life. All she does is stay in that apartment and paint and then wait for her boyfriend to come and fuck her. That is literally it. And it's such a disservice to the character. Was it a direct request to have Jules's airtime reduced? Did we have to fuck up her story arc so much? Questions, but that's all we get from her this episode as well. Yay! Yay! Jules's lobotomy keeps going strong, as you can see. Speaking of lobotomy, time to check in with Cassie. She's filming her one and only scene in LA Nights with TV superstar Dylan. Her role is super simple. Walk in, deliver the lines, walk out. And she studied her lines religiously. In the monitors are the director and crew plus Lexi watching Cassie's performance and action. She walks in, starts delivering the lines, and then midway through the scene, hearing "Once the honeymoon's over" triggers Cassie. Flashbacks of the night of her wedding flood her mind, and she veers off script. Now, why that would trigger her, I don't know, because if she studied her lines, she also studied other people's lines in the same scene, so she knew that was coming. Okay. She veers off script and suddenly she's talking about her own experiences with her wedding night and Nate and their 5-year relationship. And at first the crew panic, but Dylan goes along with it. They start improving back and forth, and it's a smash hit. And as soon as Cassie opens the waterworks, the director, Sharon Stone herself, starts finding it compelling, fresh. It's giving her the feels. And though it's slightly unhinged, they allow the performance to continue because they love it. You can see where this is going, right? Yeah. They love it so much that they request a meeting with Cassie. They find out that she does OnlyFans, but that acting full time is her dream. And Lexi is there too, constantly undercutting her sister. Because Lexi has a good work ethic, and she's actually been working her ass off. And here comes Cassie with her big breasts, once again stealing all of Lexi's thunder, casting a shadow over her. And I saw some reactions online of people calling Lexi a in this scene, and I need everyone to go back and rewatch the show. Like, give it a few extra seconds to think it through, and please explain how in the hell Lexi is the bad person at all. Lexi is a saint and she deserves redemption, and I don't think she's getting it in the last 2 episodes. But Cassie tries to play off her OnlyFans as nudes that are so tasteful, they don't even look like nudes. And Lexi keeps bringing up that she does special requests like JOIs and fetish stuff. You want to know what JOIs are? Jerk off instructions. And to think that men actually need that, right? But Cassie maintains she's not a sex worker. She is a performer who uses her body to tell stories. So like a sex worker. Sharon Stone, the director, incorrectly assumes that this is why Lexi brought Cassie to them, to take her out of that bad world and put her in a better world. And that is such an interesting character arc, she says. It's so interesting that they decide to write it into the show. They're gonna give Cassie a role in the show, as long as she leaves OnlyFans behind. It's reminding me slightly of Chloe Cherry's life. Wasn't she also on OnlyFans and then she started acting on Euphoria and then she quit OnlyFans? Is this inspired by her? Maybe. But like, once again, she just walks into the room and her body gets her everything that she's ever dreamed of. Stuff that she didn't even realize she wanted until she walked into the room. You know what I mean? Cassie's just blessed with the most perfect bosom that literally hypnotizes men and women alike globally and opened the door for whatever she wants. And whatever she doesn't want. Everything. Up for grabs. Go on, Cassie. It's all yours. But it's a tough sell deleting her account because if you'll remember, Maddie was talking about how she was about to bring $1 million a month in income. And I don't know. You can want to be famous all you want, but it's really tough to say no to $1 million a month that you're already making presently. It feels like maybe you should give it a few more months, save up, invest, and then you can quit and dedicate your entire life to acting. Because you won't ever need to work again for money. But it's a very camp moment. Cassie is looking at her laptop from the other side of the room. It's tense. The music, composed by Hans Zimmer, is making this feel cinematic and accomplished, which is not what this show deserves. She slowly crosses the living room, stepping over her underwear, tinsel, condoms, the proverbial cemetery of her current life. We get a close-up of her hips with the panties perfectly centered in the frame, lest us forget what she looks like down there. And she still has that horrible wig that I hope is a wig. She opens her laptop and a flood of unread messages from all the cucks that are funding her soon-to-be millionaire lifestyle. She tries deleting her account, but she can't bring herself to do it. She needs advice from someone, and instead of calling her business manager, she calls her husband, the one who can't even pay his own debt. He also hasn't picked up the phone in ages, and she's desperate to talk to him, but she can't. So she goes back to the laptop, and in a moment of extreme courage and determination, this young lady deletes her OnlyFans account. And it's like, oh, that was it. Now, mind you, I think that when you delete your OnlyFans account, you have like 30 days to restore it if you regret it. So it's not like she's fucked up beyond repair. There's a way back. But this is also big news for Lexi because in conversation with Sharon Stone, she gets the job of writing her storyline in LA Nights. So like Lexi is once again being used as a pawn to further her sister's narrative. Ah! I hate it. I hate it. Lexi's like the substitute teacher who just fills in for whatever new character the show needed, but it's like, why would we make a new character if we can just go back to one of the old ones that we have? You know, she's always around. She'll do it. Lexi's like the fixer. And we'll have to wait until next week because that's all we get from Lexi. Cassie, however, Cassie receives a package with a note that says, answer the phone, and Nate's severed finger with the wedding ring still on it. And where is Nate, you ask? Well, Nate is angrily stomping on the white fritillaries, screaming, "Fuck you, sucker." And he calls the flowers fat like 3 or 4 times in the space of under a minute, just over and over again. Okay. And he does the angry stomping child bit until the other guy, the big tough dude, comes back to hurt him again. And that's it. That's all we get from Nate as well. He's gonna get hurt again. I wonder how many fingers he's gonna lose until they stop. But before I move on from this scene, I just want to know why was it needed to be calling the flowers fat? It feels like such a weird slur, such a weird insult to use in this specific situation. I want to understand how he divvies up the slurs per episode, like how he decides on which one to include this time and why. I want to know why. Samuel, Mr. L, for loser. Back to Rue, who goes to church to pray. And she gets a call from her mom, and she answers the phone thinking it's the DEA, because if you'll remember, the DEA installed that bug app on her phone under the contact mom. But no, it's actually her mom this time. And they talk a little bit on the phone, although we only see Rue's side mainly until the very end. And Rue speaks about her experience with God now and how she has turned to him for salvation because she doesn't want to be stuck with the mistakes that she's made in the past. She just wants to be forgiven and be able to have a fresh start. And her mom presumably forgives her on the other line, but again, we don't hear her line, but we do hear Rue say that she misses her and she loves her. And it cuts to Rue's mom, and all she says is, "I love you, Rue." And she is on screen for about 19 seconds. First, this scene is all about Zendaya burning her name on that Emmy. Like, it's coming. Every time she's on screen, she like over delivers, but it's in these quiet moments where it's just her and her feels that you can really see like the powerhouse performance come through. And I love that for her. Secondly, I cannot believe they brought her mom back for 19 seconds of screen time. Are y'all on crack? 19 seconds, 4 words. I love you, Rue. We had a pig pee on screen, poo on screen, then the pig was back, and somehow he came back the 3rd time. We saw a sequence of Rue and Faye gagging, shoving their hands down their throats to stuff themselves with drugs. We've seen Cassie's breasts about 5 times per episode. We've seen her naked more times than I've seen my mom in the past 10 years. And you're telling me that we couldn't have done more than 19 seconds?
What happened? Wait, y'all. I just watched my episode that I've been promoting all week. And my mom over here clowning me. My mom is clowning me. She said the internet waited all this time for me to just say one line. Ma.
3 years.
3 years.
There's so much story to be told for all of these characters that are basically getting sidelined like the entire time. We're spending so much time on just grossing people out and shocking them and doing random shit that characters would never do instead of actually spending time developing the ones that we already have. Ugh, really? 19 fucking seconds? But this is Rue's predicament, right? Her entire life got derailed after one bad decision in high school, which was to take that suitcase from Lori. And it's this one mistake as a kid that she made that has snowballed into her life just being in the complete dumpster, and she's either going to die or end up in prison for the rest of her life. And now she has to deal with a mountain of unintended consequences that she could have never foreseen from that one small action as a kid. And I do understand that it is fucked up that one small decision could destroy your entire life so much. I just wish it was developed a little bit more realistically, because wasn't she like walking around free for like 2 years before Lori found her? In a way, Euphoria season 3 is coming to terms with a sobering reality of becoming an adult, right? And sometimes the decisions that we made when we were younger carry into our adulthood, into our adult lives. And season 3 is about managing all of those consequences. And this applies to every single character: Rue, Maddie, Jules, Cassie, Nate. They all had expectations for the future. They all had a plan, and somehow every single one of their plans got derailed by major forces that they couldn't control. Forces of real life. You know, real life is fucked. But I feel like that analysis of the show is giving the show too much credit that it hasn't earned yet. It's the overconceptualization of a show that probably didn't intend to go that deep at all. But back to the story, Rue is then tasked to follow through with her plan of breaking into Wayne's vault and stealing everything back. And then Bishop tells her a story about Alamo's snake, and this story I feel is very important. I'm just not exactly sure why. The story is essentially about this snake and how the snake won't necessarily eat the first prey immediately. She will wrap herself around its victim to size up what she's about to eat and preparing herself for a bigger meal. All of this to say, it becomes unclear whether Rue is still alive because Bishop and Alamo want to get to Lori first and then they'll get to Rue, so Lori is the bigger fish, or if Rue is still alive because Bishop wants to go after Alamo and Lori with the help of the DEA and Rue is just a smaller fish to fry. You know, I keep going back and forth on the idea that Bishop is an undercover agent or not. I thought he was, then I thought he wasn't. Now I'm back to thinking that he is because then he says that he spoke to Rue's mom, Leslie. Nice lady. And it's a threatening statement because this ties into Rue constantly speaking to her mom, aka the DE agents, always overhearing their conversations. And it's like, did Bishop successfully speak to Leslie and realize that Rue hasn't been in touch with her at all? Because the call at the church was the first time that they actually spoke. Rue had left her a couple messages, but they hadn't actually had a conversation. So if Bishop actually spoke to her mom, he would know. So he knows that Rue was lying. Does he know that she's working with the police? And then there's also the theory that Angel may have been saved by the DEA when she was left at that place. So I'm not sure who Bishop is, but I know he's going to be critical in the development of the story, so keep an eye on him. But for now, Rue drives off. It's the middle of the night, and she's listening to what I can only assume is the audiobook of the Bible. It's someone reading the passages of the Bible, and she gets distracted and nearly gets into a car accident, but veers off the road just in time, and her car breaks down. And there's a mountain of smoke coming out of the hood of her car, and then she gets out, and in front of her is a tree that suddenly comes ablaze with flames. It's a biblical symbolism, visual thing, right? It's from the Bible. Like, Rue kneels down, admiring the fire with glorious amazement, like she's looking at God or an angel. She's having another come to Jesus moment. And then it ends. And the music in the background was like very churchy, very cinematic. Hans Zimmer is really trying his best, but I just don't think this is the show for him. And I feel like the passage that she was listening to in the car is somehow gonna connect to her story or even foreshadow what's gonna happen to her. But, 12 years of going to church every Sunday, I'm not gonna look it up. I don't care. The Bible. We've done this, like turning to Jesus, turning to God, turning to a higher power and a higher force. She's done this so many times, but now there's like a burning tree is like this big ass symbolism. Okay. Sam wants to take us to church right after all of the sex and all of the violence and all of the swastikas. He wants us to go to church. Maybe you should go to church, Sam. Wash your soul. Oh! But next week's preview, it seems like everything is going to go off the rails. Body bags, AA meetings, cartels clashing, Maddie about to beat Cassie up, Cassie sleeping with Dylan, Nate with a stubble, and Rue helping the DEA take down these cartels. What's going to happen? I honestly don't know. And there's only 2 episodes left, and I feel like it's going to be so unsatisfying to watch. You know what I mean? I'm still not entirely sure what the point of the season was. It wasn't to give anyone closure, because we're not giving closure to anything. We're not closing any storylines from season 2. We're actually just starting entirely new ones with characters that we know, are familiar with, but don't necessarily recognize because it seems like they all went through a lobotomy in the past 3 years. Again, the closest analysis I could make of season 3 is the breaking of the illusions of what your life could be after you finish high school, because in high school, everything is so important. Every event feels pivotal in your life. Every small achievement feels like a milestone. And then all of these dreams that you have, all of these aspirations, everything you fantasize about may seem so grand and so overwhelmingly what you want that then you get to adulthood and you realize that nothing is as it seemed. All your aspirations and dreams in the dumpster. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and you're either a criminal or a sex worker. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to leave it a like down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that bell notification so you never miss a future upload from me. And before I go, some quick updates on other videos. I was going to do Half Man, episode 4, then 5, then 6. But after watching episode 4, it's really heavy. I think I'm just going to do one final video to wrap up the season. But don't worry. because I've been watching other stuff and I'm cooking up some things. So keep an eye out for the channel. We post more than Euphoria, but subscribe, follow me on my socials. They're all linked down below. We have fun. We have fun. And until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys. O meu nome é saudade, porque vou sem saber quando vou voltar.